Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Doop Movie Podcast. My name is Brian.
My name is Keith.
And we are here to talk about movies for your pleasure. Today, we're going to be reviewing THX-1138, George Lucas's film debut.
I know. I discovered this on HBO Max. It was going to expire within this month, and I was like, well, I need to get an opportunity to watch this month, and, well, why not?
Yeah, so we did. And that sure was a movie.
That it happened. That's for sure.
That was a thing. That was a sequence of lights and images and sounds.
Yes, for sure. The lights were pretty good. I did like some of the camera work in some shots, in this movie.
And some of the model work was really good too, especially like during that one car chase scene.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I didn't hate this movie. It's real art house.
Yeah,
it's something that we'll definitely get into. Probably over and over again, and I'm kind of going to deploy my eventual opinion here. This movie feels a lot like prototype Star Wars.
Yes, that's for sure.
Like, George Lucas obviously is known for being the creator of the Star Wars trilogy. Now the nonology, I guess, is because there's 9 of them.
Yeah. I mean, we can still say saga. Is it saga still?
Yeah. Yeah. Saga works. But this was his first film, and one of his film school friend. And one of his best friends, Francis Ford Coppola, was a producer, right? And George Lucas wrote the first draft of the script, and he and Coppola both agreed it was shit. So they hired in screenwriter Walter Murch to kind of punch it up with Lucas, and that was Coppola's idea. It was like who to hire. They both agreed that it needed work. Then Coppola came up with Murch, and they punched it up and got it made for $777,000. And it eventually made its money back, but not in its initial box office. It was not very well received initially.
I can see that, honestly, like after seeing the movie.
Definitely.
It's not one of those. I mean, art house is a great way to describe it.
Yeah,
for sure.
You know. I would say
like they just got out of college and it was like, yeah, let's do this. Why not?
If Logan's Run knocked up Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the Gene Wilder version,
of course,
inside the filming of the first Star Wars movie, this might be the baby that comes out of it.
This would be the baby.
While watching the birdcage the whole time they were pregnant. Like, because a good chunk of this movie takes place in an insane asylum.
Yeah. I really enjoyed, I got that, Logan's Run vibe off of this too.
Yeah. Well, okay, like the premise of the film is that humanity is controlled by computers and robots. Yeah. And they force people to take drugs so that they don't experience emotions, like sexuality, and all this is outlawed.
Sex is a crime. You know.
Unlicensed sexual behavior is punishable by death. Yeah. And this is the trials and tribulations of two people who are roommates who, through one of their decisions, decides to stop taking the suppression medicine, and then they wind up starting a relationship, and then that whole, like, that sounds very 1984-ish, but then they sort of abandon that plot point like about halfway through. Yeah.
It's like it's about the relationship initially, and then it goes, okay, well, now I need to escape. Yeah. And like THX is the main character.
THX-1138. That is his full name. Yeah. And it was based off of George Lucas's phone number when he was in film school, because THX were the first the letters in the first 3 numbers of his phone number. I don't remember what numbers they stand for. Yeah. Without looking at a touch-tone phone, I couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. To speak to our younger audience, whenever you press a number on a dial tone, there are letters equivalent to these numbers as well.
Yeah, so it's like like 1 is like star and stuff, 2 is ABC, 3 is DEF, 4 is GHI, then JK, and the whole alphabet is on there. So like in the early days of texting, it would be like 7776655553331.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's how you would type.
Yeah.
Before we had keyboards on our phones. Back in the dark ages.
Back in the dark ages, that's for sure.
But everyone in this movie is bald.
Yep.
Which was a stylistic choice from Lucas to kind of sell the dystopian future vibe. Yeah. Right? But this sort of became a problem because most of the extras in the movie because it was filmed in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah.
And most of the extras from this movie were patients in drug rehab facilities. Because they were already bald.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them turned out to be from the violent, murderous cult Cyanon. Which, not going to get into here, but they're sort of the American equivalent of the Shiny Happies out of Japan.
I don't even know about the Shiny Happies.
Okay, getting way off in the weeds now. The Shiny Happy cult was the cult that the cultists from the video game Earthbound were based on.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Like they mutilated cows and stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, not going to get into a lot of detail, but really
just give you an image of,
the type of people they had on this film.
Yes.
With Robert Duvall, who plays THX-1138 as the main character. Look at me, I'm dumb.
What were you? What did you write down, or what did? Oh, I mean LUH.
Yeah, La.
Yeah.
Because it's LUH like 2265 or something like that is his roommate. Yeah. Right. But yeah, this is obviously THX became the name for George Lucas's sound mastering company.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So which you see on almost every movie nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. It's perfect.
So I mean, this definitely has had an impact, right?
Yeah.
But as I said, this kind of feels like prototype Star Wars.
Yeah. Like a lot of the android noises are so similar,
to the way the sounds that C-3PO makes.
Yeah, C-3PO, other androids that are featured, like there's this other one that I remember that sounds distinctly like that that one character in episode 1, she has something on her face, and she sounds really weird whenever she speaks, but she's like, her whole face is messed up, Red Letter Media was making fun of them, like, initially whenever they started on their, channel, and I was like, what's wrong with your face? Like, it's that one. It's that character, okay. The way that they're speaking.
I should remember this, but I don't. You sure it's episode 1?
Yes, because it's on the display. It's in the beginning of the movie. Yes. I will bet money that it's in episode 1.
You sure it's not the Clone Wars? And you're not thinking of Assange Ventress?
I'm sure.
Who was it that had a thing on her face?
It's okay. We'll look at that video in a minute.
Oh yeah, we got to get to Star Wars at some point.
We'll get there. But
yeah, like the robots that the THX's job is he builds robots in the robot factory, right? Yeah. So
like maintaining them, making sure that everything's all good and gravy, pretty much.
And you very much could easily splice in footage from this movie into Star Wars as how they built C-3PO.
Right. Yeah.
Aside from the complete difference in camera quality.
Yeah.
Star Wars is I don't know what the actual film stock was, but Star Wars was filmed I guess higher definition, or I don't know what it is, but it looks way better.
Yeah.
And I sound so dumb right now because I'm talking out of my butt about stuff I don't know about. But this was based on a George Lucas film a student film from his days in film school. Like we said, it had a budget of $777,000, and it did not make its money back in its initial theatrical release. It was re-released in late 1977. Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah.
In theaters, and that's when it finished making its $2.4 million worldwide box office. And then it's had a cult following in home video sales ever since, as, the feature film debut of the Star Wars guy.
Yeah.
Right?
If only I was alive in that time, man.
Heck, this is before even my time.
Yeah.
I was born in 1983. This movie was 12 years before I was born.
Yeah.
Rated PG, and cannot believe it's rated PG.
Yeah, this is more like today's R for sure.
Yeah, definitely R. Maybe not a hard R.
Not really hard, not super hard, but there's a scene or two that kind of pushes the bounds.
Yeah, there's a scene or two that they would definitely have to cut off network TV.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
Like, they would definitely put that on the unrated, Blu-ray pretty much.
Yeah.
You know.
But we'll get to it as Keith gets into the plot synopsis.
I just want to make a note. First off, the credits are showed in reverse scrolling order. They generally,
Also, it's at the beginning of the film.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of older movies do that generally. Just the fact that it comes out in the opposite direction, that really surprised me. I wasn't expecting it. And it didn't, I don't know.
I made a note here that this text crawl feels like a prototype for the Star Wars text crawl.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah,
the style of the text crawl would, come up. It's the same way that I think it was it's whatever.
Well, the opening, instead of opening narration, it's just an opening, story bit in Star Wars. Right? Yeah. That's the crawl.
Yeah, exactly.
The famous,
Well, I was trying to think back now, just the way that it comes on the screen, the order, just the rotation style, or if it's opposite. But I think I'm talking myself into a circle now.
It's okay.
Let's see.
So how does our movie open up?
Yeah, I mean, he's maintaining the robots, as we mentioned earlier. He's immune to sedation at some point, you'll find out. Because there are videos between him and LUH.
Yeah.
I'm going to say LUV a lot because it sounds a lot like love.
Yeah, and his name is supposed to sound like sex.
Yeah, love and sex.
And then the other guy who I can't stand, the other main character, his name's Sin.
Yeah.
But we'll get to him.
Yeah, I didn't make a lot of notes about Sin. So you might have to refresh my memory or fill in some gaps here.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's immune to sedation, so he requests for more at some point.
There's a thing where you can open your medicine cabinet in your apartment.
Yeah.
And they're watching you, Big Brother is watching you, and it comes on and it's hey, what's wrong? And he's like, I need more, it's not working.
Yeah.
I need more, it's not working. And is it that he's immune to sedation? Or
that's what I thought at first, but I think later on we see LUH switched out some of the pills between something else too, because she wanted to be in a relationship.
Well, yeah, she has been, palming or cheeking her pills.
Yeah.
And she wanted him to start experiencing emotions the way
that she is doing.
The way she is. So she, it's very Adam and Eve kind of a thing, very Original Sin esque.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hidden symbolism in this movie that I'm just now picking up on.
Yeah. Yeah, that right there. That's the big one.
Yeah.
They're we'll get to another one later on because I don't want to spoil it, but we'll talk about it eventually.
Yeah. So he works on building the robots that kind of patrol. They're robot security officers that kind of control society.
Yeah.
Right. He builds them, and there's a big thing made of an accident that happens at another robot plant. Mm-hmm. Where there's radiation levels are off the charts and there's this massive explosion.
But they're being congratulated because they didn't lose as many people as that other
we've lost 43 fewer people than that other station. Keep
good
up
job.
The good work.
Yeah, if a different movie did that, they would definitely play the black comedy part of that. Angle of it.
This whole movie kind of feels like a drug trip.
Yeah.
Just the whole movie feels like you really need to be in an altered state of consciousness to understand it.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating that we get high or anything like that, or that the viewers get high. I'm saying that this movie feels like it was written by someone who was inebriated in some way.
Yeah. Looking at you, George.
Yeah, well, there's some stuff in here that later shows up in the Star Wars holiday special.
Yeah.
That there was... That's why after they made the Star Wars holiday special, there was a cocaine shortage in Los Angeles for about a year because that's how much cocaine was needed to make the Star Wars holiday special. Oh God, I'm having flashbacks.
After his conversation with the person on the other side of the medicine cabinet, he sees a priest, and it's
It's not a priest.
I know it's not. It's not really a priest. I'm aware. It's like an image of Jesus, and he's like confessing, but it's just pre-recorded message on the other side. Like,
it's obviously just a recording. And you find this out. This gets confirmed later when he goes back, and it's the exact same recording playing back at him.
Yeah.
But it's an image of Jesus. But fun fact. The state-sponsored religion is the god is called OMM, which is where Terry Pratchett got the idea for one of his gods in his Discworld series of novels.
Okay,
I thought that was an interesting little tip.
Yeah, that is. I'm glad you found that. Let's see, and then there was a point. So THX and LUH start a relationship.
I kind of want to back up just a little bit on this one. I apologize for interrupting.
Sure.
It does show what might be the unintentionally funniest thing I found in the movie, because it reminded me of the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Okay.
The TV equivalent in this world is like a holographic projection in your living room.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! Yeah.
I like this actually. And Robert Duvall's character THX is sitting there watching this stuff, and he's watching this woman who is buck nude, dancing around and gyrating as this tube-like machine comes down from like in front of his face and kind of goes down below the camera, and then he gets this weird smile on his face, and then the machine starts going up and down.
Yeah, it's a masturbatory device.
Yeah, it's a masturbation machine.
Yeah.
It's a sex machine. And I'm like, oh my God, this was reused in the Star Wars Holiday Special. No, I'm not kidding. They really did it with a Wookiee in Star Wars Holiday Special.
Huh, I need to watch that again. I'll definitely need to watch that again because of that. But yeah, after he masturbates, he then fucks, and then he there was a point I made this note just because I thought it was funny. He said at some point, it's like, oh, no one can see us. I don't know if that was him or...
Oh, she's like, I can feel them watching us.
Yeah, I'll feel them watching us. Like, oh, no one can see us. And then literally the next shot,
everyone. Like smash cut to everyone watching.
Everyone's watching. I was like, what are they doing? Why are they doing this?
I will say that shot of the first time he comes off his meds and they're like touching face to face.
Yeah.
Right? Is... a really effective, like, first kiss awkwardness moment.
Yeah.
Right? When two people are into each other but really don't know how to express it yet. It looks like two teenagers fumbling at each other.
Yeah. And
it really was an oddly effective, very romantic moment in a movie that is kind of devoid of that stuff.
Yeah.
Which works because this is a transgressive emotional thing that they're not supposed to be doing.
Right.
So.
But yeah, so they get arrested, and they're separated.
They don't get arrested yet. First he meets Sin.
Right.
And this little bit here is I have it. The timeline is specific because I want to talk about Sin.
Okay.
Sin is the guy who he works on the computers. Like, that's his job. But he's also, I guess, a hacker because he keeps like changing stuff to suit his lifestyle. And dude is like creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Dude is rapey AF is the way I put it in my notes.
Your notes.
Because he put like an order for LUH to go visit him in his apartment, and that's the last we see of her for a while. Because THX goes to see him, and Sin is like, yeah, so my roommate was killed in that explosion at the beginning of the movie, so we're going to be roommates now, and won't that be fun? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so dude's real creepy.
Yeah.
And then it's after that we get the scene where the LUH and THX are making love, and smash cut to everyone watching them,
mm-hmm.
right? And then Sin reports them.
Yeah,
because he also reported Sin for doing shift changes, like hacking people's work orders and stuff.
That's right, I remember that.
Right. So Sin reported their thing, although obviously people already knew because smash cut to everyone watching them have sex.
Right, exactly.
Right. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, but yeah, after that's happened, Yeah, THX and LUH are arrested and given drug therapy.
Yeah.
At some point, they meet up. They get reacquainted in between everything else. And LUH tells him that she's pregnant.
Yeah. Like, there's... In the middle of of their like, rehabilitation.
Yeah.
Their reconditioning is what they call it.
Yeah, because they were bad. How dare they?
Yeah, how dare they? They get brought back together for what I'm assuming is let's see if the conditioning holds.
Yeah, pretty much like a test.
Yeah.
It was like, let's see if everything's...
And she's like, I'm carrying a child, and then smash cut to them naked on the floor in this blank white room where they have had sex again, and then the robots come in.
Yeah.
And this is where I wrote down that the robots' big black sticks that they're carrying around make lightsaber noises.
Yeah.
Like I said, prototype Star Wars.
Pretty much, yeah. They're just working through it. Let's see.
He tries to fight him off and is subdued. And that's... At this point, LUH, who has been the driving factor for the film, exits the film.
Yeah.
Like, we don't see her again.
Yeah.
Well, kind of, but not really.
Kind of,
we'll
but not really.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So they the whole like tagline of the movie is these two fell in love and they weren't supposed to, but she is jettisoned from the film like an escape pod like 34 minutes in, and the rest of the hour-long runtime is completely different story. Well,
yeah,
a continuation of the same story, but it's
just like the next step, pretty much. I mean, because there's something that happens. I don't really know specifically what happens to her in general, but I know that something happens to her in general. But at some point, after the test, THX escapes through this wall. I think a couple of other prisoners who are also being reconditioned escape with him.
And this like asylum that they're stuck in is just this big blank white void.
Yeah.
Right? And they escape just by walking for a bit.
Yeah.
There's no wall. You can just walk away.
Yeah.
But they're in there with a couple of the people, including Sen.
Yeah.
Who is still creepy AF. Oh, also the fight scene after they make love in the white void, the fight scene with the androids is where this movie would earn its R, because there is full frontal nudity, both male and female, on display.
Yeah.
In that moment. Now, I don't think this is a bad thing, but be aware when you see this movie has a PG rating that there is some dong flopping about, and there's definitely some anti-dong.
Anti-dong.
Not flopping about.
Anti-dong. The clam. The clam is jamming.
Yeah. So yeah, like it says in my notes, Bush with 2 exclamation points. Like, I was surprised to see that.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
He escapes the facility with Sen by just sort of walking away.
Yeah.
Like, how big is this facility? Because there's like a montage of walking. So obviously they walked for a bit.
Yeah.
Can't have been too long because Sen was carrying food. And he was like dropping it because he's, the worst person ever. And he still had some when they get to the outer like area where there's just a flashing light. But then they run into a dude who is only known as Hologram.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the hologram actor.
Yeah, he was an actor in the Hologram TV shows that people watch. And he went nuts because he actually thinks he's a hologram.
Yeah.
Right? So then they open a door and it's just this massive crowd of people. Think like crowded high school between classes.
Yeah, I made my note here. Human stampede. 2 exclamation points. Parentheses upon THX's escape.
Yeah. And they get out, but Sen gets kind of pushed through the crowd.
Yeah.
Right, and he winds up on a train, and then he takes he has his own little aside where he takes a train to the end of the line for the train. He gets off and he maybe in a daze or whatever, he just sort of starts exploring the area, which is on the outskirts of their city.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like walking through what looks like a subway tunnel, and he sees this like weird scorpion looking thing, and it scares him, and he runs back to the train. And then he like takes the train and shows up at the station where there's a bunch of kids on a field trip, right? And it doesn't go into detail about it, but apparently education is done through IV fluid in this future, and all these kids are wearing like these very 70s-esque IVs on their arm, but it's like these two big cylinders of I guess medicine information. And the only reason I put that together is because Sin, who is now perving on these kids, because Sin is the worst, right? It says, back in my day when I learned economics, the tube was this big. I'm like, WAT question mark? I really don't like Sin very much.
Yeah.
At this point, he's there hanging out with the kids, and he's perving on the kids, and two of the robot officers walk up to him, and I'm skipping a part. I'm skipping a part where Sen walks into the studio where they record the recordings, the church stuff.
Yeah.
And so he like sees the big picture of and he kneels down to pray, and one of the monks is like, "Hey, you can't pray here. This is for recording, not for praying. Go to one of the confession boxes if you want to pray." And so Sin attacks the monk, and it's not known whether he kills him or not, but the monk goes down quickly, and then Sin runs into the kids, and so now Sin is gone. He's taken away by the robot police, and we don't see him again. Thank God.
Yeah.
I think I wrote "I hate Sin" like 4 times in my notes. I'm sorry.
He's wanting to do it to you. I mean, he's the worst, and I don't know. I mean, there are some points to his aside adventure that's interesting to the overall message and like the symbolism with and all that stuff. So I can see the point in following his character. But I just kind of wish it just would have been THX instead.
Yeah, definitely.
And not like he wouldn't have been creepy towards the kids, obviously. But
yeah, and you could definitely have everything that was done by Sen could have been done by LUH.
Yeah, that too.
Like if she had more screen time, and it was her trying to escape through the crowd, and it was her who got caught up in the church, and her who got caught up by the robot guards.
Right.
It would have made just as much sense as it does in the movie now, but also she would have had some closure to her character arc, other than, I'm pregnant, also bye!
Yep.
So, I'm laughing, but it's not funny.
It is really not, Yeah, and later on, throughout the film, THX discovers LUH's identity has been reassigned to her fetus.
Yeah, she has been reconsumed.
Yeah.
Now her fetus is in a jar, and it has her name and number, LUH, whatever the number was.
Yeah.
And so this kind of breaks THX's heart, but he and Hologram decide they're going to make a run for it.
Mm-hmm.
So they start trying to escape through the facility, right? Being chased by the robot guards.
Yeah.
And it keeps cutting back and forth between the chase sequence and the control room, talking about this project has a budget of 14,000 credits. Do not exceed budget for recapturing THX.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which, okay, sure.
Yeah, like we're only going to spend this amount of money, because we need it for other stuff. So we're not going to push forward and really try to catch you past a certain minute. Like it's again, that's a symbolism, about the way police work is done now. If it costs too much money to chase after somebody, then they're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the I'm sorry.
Okay.
Interrupting. But that's
I interrupt you all the time, dude. Feel free.
That's true. You know what? I'll take that.
I don't mean to.
Oh, I know. I'm aware.
Smack me in the back of the head and tell me to shut up. It's fine.
Well, no, but no, that's the real king here is the money that the police are going to get. So that's the high power right there.
Yeah,
the higher power.
So where are we in the plot at this point?
Yeah, I mean he escaped. Oh, there was this pretty great sequence. Escape sequence and all that. The chase sequence.
Oh, the cars.
Yeah, the cars. Yeah, it was nice.
So early on in the movie, you see like these shots of these cool looking, like futuristic sports car looking things flying around, but you don't really, or rolling around.
Yeah.
You don't get a good look at them But then during the escape sequence, Hologram and THX each hop into one of these cars and try to get it started and take off.
Yeah.
And this is where we get, inglorious exit from the film number 3. Hologram finally gets his car started and immediately drives it into a pillar at 100 miles an hour and is dead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Bye, Hologram.
Yeah.
I didn't know you that well.
I didn't, but, I mean, you were fine. You were cool,
Interestingly, the car is a real car. It's a Lola T70.
Oh.
Lola is a British car manufacturer back in the 70s that made not rally cars, but like Monaco GP style cars.
Okay.
So it's a modified Monaco style racing car that they got like 4 of them and did all kinds of stuff with for this movie.
I was about to say, you couldn't have had that many shots, that many takes with that specific scene.
Yeah.
What with the budget?
Yeah. So they got 4 of these cars, and that was the vast majority of the budget.
Yeah, pretty much. That is the budget.
There was a gray one, 2 of the blue ones that THX drives, and then the black one that Sen wrecks. Yeah. Not Sen, the hologram wrecks.
Hologram, yeah.
Yeah. And the gray one was the one you saw in the beginning of the film driving through.
Yeah.
People, interestingly enough, there's a company in Africa that still makes replicas of this car.
Interesting.
And you could buy one.
Oh.
I mean, it's like, a few $100,000, and it would have to have some modifications to be street legal in the United States, but it is not the most uncommon car.
Interesting. Yeah.
But it's a good chase sequence, I think. There's some decent model work.
Yeah. As
he's like swerving between vehicles and stuff, right? And then THX now he's driving along these highways and tunnels. He's trying to get away, and the 2 robot police officers that are chasing him, I swear to God, look like they just stepped out of Chips, the TV show about motorcycle cops.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they're on these like motorcycles, which this is gonna sound off the wall, but it reminded me of the motorcycle chase from Final Fantasy VII, which came out 20 years after this movie.
Right.
So, like, obviously, this wasn't inspired by a video game, but there's a scene in Final Fantasy VII where you are riding motorcycles and being chased by other people on motorcycles through a tunnel, and the visuals of, like, the bikes and how it works it was very similar to me.
Yeah.
So maybe that was an homage to this movie.
Maybe.
I have no idea.
Maybe. I'll have to do a comparison video.
But
see if there is one.
Yeah, but THX does some cool stunt driving. Like he busts through a fence, because it's like stop, the road runs out. Well, fuck that.
Yeah, fuck your fences.
Yeah, that's actually I wrote that right there. Fuck your fences, LOL. And then at one point there's like a scaffolding where there's a bunch of people working on some like pipes or something.
Yeah.
And he drives through the scaffolding. Like he twists around so he hits it sideways so it doesn't hit his windshield.
Yeah.
And
which is smart, actually.
Yeah, which is really cool. And he breaks through the scaffolding and then like gets the car started again as one of the cops on a bike wrecks.
Yeah.
Right. So he gets to the edge of the road where the road's about to run out, and he stops. And this is the climb for freedom scene, right? And I've taken over the plot here again.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I didn't make a lot of notes on this, movie in particular, and I kind of want it. I'm glad that you have more notes on like that other character.
Well, I also rewatched it this morning.
Exactly. So, yeah. It's been a week for me.
Yeah.
The climb to freedom. He eventually gets up there, and then he sees the sunset.
Yeah, like halfway up the climb, it comes over the radio. You have exceeded the budget for recapturing THX.
Yeah.
Return to base.
Yeah, I was like,
and the cops
really? You can't even do like just one more 1,000 and just get him back.
And the cops are like, you're not going to survive up there.
Yeah.
The surface world is not habitable. We out.
Yeah.
And so the cops leave.
Yeah.
And
we promise you can't survive up there.
Yeah, please come back.
Right.
We only want to help.
That's it.
And so he climbs, and he climbs up through like a porthole, and then you see that the entire city they've been living in is underground.
Yeah.
Because he comes up onto the surface and he sees a big red-orange sunset. And as he stands there staring at the sunset in slack-jawed amazement, the credits roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which it's definitely a prototype Tatooine sunset moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
All in all, it's not a very substantial film.
No, there's not so much plot, and it doesn't change so much as well.
As evidenced by the fact that, we have spent over an hour talking about the plot of previous movies, and we're 37 minutes in, and we're at
pretty
the
much
end of
done.
this one.
Yeah, exactly. That's...
There's a lot of symbolism in this movie, like the bald heads and the everyone taking pills all the time, and your life is controlled by the computer, which is ruled by economics.
Yeah.
Very much social commentary.
Yeah.
I wanted to say criticism, and I knew that wasn't right. But some of the plot points are handled a little awkwardly.
Yes, I agree with that.
Which is kind of a thing for George Lucas.
Yeah. That's for sure.
Lucas didn't direct all 3 of the original Star Wars movies, and the ones he didn't direct were better.
Yeah.
He directed all 3 of the prequels, and a lot of the plot seems awkward, and the dialogue is stilted. It's like...
Yeah.
Lucas is a visionary when it comes to designing a world and
world building.
Yeah, designing an overall plot.
Yeah.
And world building and visualizations, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah, but like the whole play-by-play nature of it,
Lucas really works better when someone else takes care of the details.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
And this is an example of that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's still not perfect. I love art house movies in general.
This is a very art house, art house film.
But even compared to other art house films that I've seen, this one's a little bit weaker, comparatively speaking. But
yeah, well, I mean, also it's 1971.
Exactly.
We got to remember this was 50 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh God.
This was 50 years ago.
50 years ago, Jesus.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't say too much. I'm just calling out to my God.
That's it.
That's yeah.
That's it. That's yep. That is my God.
But you'll see references to this movie throughout the rest of George Lucas's career.
Yeah.
Right? Like his next movie, American Graffiti, which is the one he made between this and Star Wars. The license plate on the main character's car is THX-1138.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
And like in Star Wars, when they're taking Chewbacca to the... You've seen Star Wars, right?
Yes.
Okay. when
Why now? You've known me for how long, and now
25 years,
and now you ask me, have you seen Star Wars?
Well,
it's like you forget everything. My name is Keith, by the way. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Keith. I'm Brian.
But yeah,
no, this is in Star Wars when they're in the Death Star and they're going to the detention center to try and rescue Leia. Prisoner transfer from cell block 1138 is the line they use.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
Not to mention most of the visuals and sound effects from Star Wars feel like iterations of the stuff found in THX-1138.
Yeah, like the level up pretty much. Like
Yeah.
he's working on the prototype and then he just worked with it again and then just got better for Star Wars pretty much.
And then getting a little further into the weeds here, the one of the character names in Star Wars is actually based off of a behind-the-scenes moment from this film. At one point, Lucas is editing the movie, and he goes to his assistant editor, and he says, I need Reel 2 Dialogue 2. But he writes it down, R2-D2.
Yeah. Okay.
And so he realizes, he looks at it and goes, that's interesting. And he kind of puts it away for later. And then later on, the character that shows up in the most Star Wars movies is R2-D2.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the best character in Star Wars.
You know?
I just want that reaction.
I don't necessarily disagree.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a different time.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of Star Wars to talk about.
There are two more things that I have noted here. One, I liked that Sid Haig, he was young at this point. He had a scene. I don't even remember the character's name, but he was also with THX in the same center prison. Quote unquote,
in the insane asylum,
in the insane asylum, and all that.
I mean,
and then he punches Sen in the face, and I think he was the one who punched Sen in the face. Sid
the
Haig.
First time,
yeah,
because THX punches him one time too.
Yeah, but yes, Sid Haig did it, and I just like him just in general because I have a soft spot for House of a Thousand Corpses, and seeing a young Sid Haig up screen, I was like, oh my god, that's so cool.
They brought on. There was a minor plot point in the movie called the Shell Dwellers, where it's these like subhuman ape-like people who are mostly played by midgets and or orangutans, right? And they bring one into the detention center or the asylum, and I had to look it up to make sure it wasn't Peter Dinklage because it looked a lot like Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
Tyrion Lannister from
right.
Game of Thrones.
I know, yes. That wasn't a look of confusion.
Well, I also said that for the audience benefit.
Of course, yes. Because we can't assume that everybody knows,
I think we can assume that they know who Tyrion Lannister is, but I don't think we can assume that they know who played Tyrion Lannister.
Correct.
Right? I think that's a safe bit of CYA.
We can probably cut this part out too. But yeah, another note that I really wanted to make mention of is that this was like 1971. As Brian mentioned earlier, this movie wasn't very successful whenever it was first released, and it had their production company on kind of like uneasy ground. Well,
when it was first put out, the studio said this is too long. We need to cut this, and this, and they cut like 10 to 12 minutes out of the film.
Yeah, which I mean, again, after that, like they just didn't see too much of a future with the same production company. But Coppola got an offer to direct a movie, in 1972, and he was like, "Oh, I don't really want to do this one." He wasn't quite sure about it, and then George Lucas kind of pushed him into it, and he was like, "Oh no, you need to do this. Like this would definitely help save our production company, and then just have a future for you." So now we have The Godfather.
Yeah.
Thanks to George Lucas.
Well, this was still during the waning years of the studio system, like the Hollywood, back in the day.
Yeah.
When you would sign a 7-picture contract with a studio, and then you'd have to make 7 movies.
Right.
And THX did poorly enough that what is the name of the production company, the studio that was behind it?
I couldn't tell you now.
I can't remember it. They were considering canceling the contract.
Yeah.
And then of course, 6 years later, or no, 4 years later, American Graffiti came out and was a smash hit.
Yeah.
Right. And also, in no small part due to Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Who later shows up in another little movie that George Lucas directed.
Yes. That we haven't talked about before.
No, I'm not even sure you've seen. Apparently,
apparently not. But this movie, it falls between like a 5 and a 6 for me.
I'd put it like at a 4.
Yeah,
a solid 4.
A solid 4, like a strong 4.
Yeah, maybe a 5 if I'm like really in the mood for art house.
Yep.
Or something like really creepy.
Yep.
Not creepy. The only thing really creepy was like the robot cops for me. Like the whole premise was a little unsettling.
Yeah. But
the robot cops really hit the uncanny valley for me. And reading up on it, this is not a common reaction to the movie. But the robot cops really hit that uncanny valley reflex for me.
Okay.
Which is like that whole something looks real enough that you can see it's supposed to be a person, but it's unreal enough that it makes you very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that's the uncanny valley.
Yeah.
And especially the scene where there's like a little cutaway scene where one of the cops malfunctions and starts walking into a wall repeatedly.
Yeah.
And that really kind of threw me for a loop. also, they're so soothing. Even when they're holding, like, taser sticks. Mm-hmm. It's like, we only want to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'd give this a solid 4.
Yeah.
Solid 4. Definitely worth checking out if you're interested in George Lucas's earlier work, because you can definitely see a lot of where his later filmmaking style was in its, like, baby form here.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
I didn't particularly love it, but it's not one that I disliked at all.
For our listeners, the three and under is where Brian won't like it very much at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, I even gave Uncut Gems a 4.
Yeah, that too.
You know, but that's because I wanted to give it a 0 because it was difficult to watch, but I recognize it was a good film, even if I had problems with it personally that were my fault, not the film's fault.
It's like the replay value coming into effect for your, particular criticism.
I will say that, something I said earlier is that this movie feels like it was written by someone who was on a substance. And I do wonder if viewing it on a substance is a different experience. Because a lot of 70s movies are like that. Yeah. You know, have you ever watched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Yes.
On a substance?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a completely different movie.
Yeah.
I'm, again, not advocating that at all.
Right.
You know, not at all. It's just something drugs were part and parcel with Hollywood.
Yeah.
You know, back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Most of the exploitation movies and stuff, a lot of these actors were paid in cocaine. Like, this was just known. Yeah. You know, so you can really see the influence of people who aren't thinking the way a normal person would think.
Yeah.
Which led to a lot of art.
Yes.
Like capital A art.
Yeah.
In film. But also led to some stuff that might not translate as well 50 years later.
Right.
You know. It's always incongruous to me to see a movie supposedly set in the future that still uses, like, half burnt out incandescent big square button reel-to-reel computers.
Which like on that note, I don't know what year this is supposed to take place in.
It doesn't say.
Yeah.
It never says.
It just says future.
It says a dystopian future is all it says.
Yeah.
But it's for a first feature film.
Yeah.
It's really not bad at all.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of promise here. You know, I think George Lucas has a career ahead of him.
Yeah. Good, promising young director. You know, a young buck.
A young buck.
It's like it was George Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola, Steven Spielberg, and later I think Quentin Tarantino. Or I might be thinking of Spike Lee. Who were like the up and comers of filmmakers, right? Mm-hmm. These were the first people who grew up watching movies and so took that sensibility into their own filmmaking, and they were really they were where the summer blockbuster came from. They were where, a lot of things we take for granted in movies now were pioneered by these 5 or 6 people who all came out of film school around the same time.
Except for Tarantino, because Tarantino didn't actually go to school.
I think I was thinking of Spike Lee.
Yeah.
I think I mistook Quentin Tarantino and Spike Lee, and I apologize to both of them because I have great respect for both of them as filmmakers.
Yes.
We really need to do a couple of Tarantino films up in here.
Yeah. That's for sure.
I don't want to get into like Cahiers du Cinema and the tearing down of the studio system,
right?
Because I don't know enough about it to speak accurately off the top of my head. Give me, a month to research it, and I could probably point to THX-1138 as being the beginning of that, or one of the beginnings of that, like, era of filmmaking.
Yeah.
That then got its major shot in the arm with Star Wars by Lucas and Jaws by Spielberg.
Yeah.
Right, which were the 2 big summer blockbusters that cemented summer blockbusters being a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before then, movies still had road shows.
Yeah.
They would go on tour.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, 50 years later, filmmakers like Kevin Smith taking their movie on tour is considered a novelty. So it's amazing how, you can see the evolution of film as an art form. This is a good time capsule of right in the beginning of a changing of the guard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's worth a watch. It's worth looking into for that alone. You know.
I agree.
What was your favorite scene? Like your favorite part of the movie?
I don't really have one per se. I mean, I just like, well, maybe the car sequence.
I was thinking that too.
You know.
Not so much the chase with the motorcycles for me, but like when he's driving through the city and it's very obvious they switch to model work.
Yeah.
And it's model work that rivals Blade Runner, in my opinion, which has some of the best model work I've ever seen in film. A lot of people say it's the best.
Yeah.
Many people say, but that stuck out to me. The cars were different and cool looking. The tension was high. It was just a really cool sequence.
Yeah.
Thinking back on it, it kind of feels out of place for the rest of the movie for me.
Yeah, I know. Like it's a very slow, methodical sort of film. And then now it's like kipping up into action. I was like, oh, this is really what he wanted to do, George. You know?
Yeah. And that car chase is proto-pod race.
Yeah.
You could tie almost every scene of this movie into, oh, he did that better in this other movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's any filmmaker
that's how you get out of school. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, this was his first film,
exactly.
Right? But I don't know if there's any filmmaker, with the possible exception of Tarantino, where you could take their first movie and show, okay, well, he iterated and fixed this part of his filmmaking in this movie, and he fixed this part in this movie.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of potential here, and knowing how it turns out, what a filmmaker he becomes, none of this potential surprises me.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm missing some of the context of it because I have more knowledge than someone watching it in the 70s would have had.
Yeah.
All in all, visually speaking, this movie, I don't really enjoy 70s movies from a visual perspective very much. Like, to me, and this is entirely a subjective opinion, right? And is probably entirely wrong, but to me, when I think of a 70s movie, it's like washed out colors and washed out storylines and kind of boring. And this is not that. It's not boring, but it is kind of washed out. Like, it's almost like, speaking metaphorically, it's like you're watching a better sci-fi movie through gauze. Like, you can see what's going on, you can see the shape of it, but you can't really make out all the details, and it's not quite as impactful as you feel like it should be. And I don't... Having said that, I don't even know if I stand by that statement.
Like you think it would do better with like a 4K re-release or something, Yeah, like
a remastering.
Right.
Like, do a special edition of it like he did he did, actually, in 2004.
Yeah, the director's cut. But I mean, it was 2004. That's almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, Jesus.
God,
2004 was... The 80s was 20 years ago. 2004 was not 20 years ago.
I know, it's crazy.
I still think of the 80s as 20 years ago.
Yeah, I do too. But, well, I think we wrapped it up here.
Yeah. This has been a short and sweet one.
Yeah.
This is the Democratic Order of Podcasters. My name is Brian.
My name is Keith.
And thank you guys for joining us on this journey through THX-1138.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.